When it comes to new students, there are two things that I consistently see when they're working on getting their chords down. The first one is just being able to put all the fingers down at the same time. In other words, your chord placement. So you want to be able to put all the fingers down at the same time, but usually in the start it looks something like this. You're putting one finger down, then the next one, right? And so that takes a little bit of time. When you're playing guitar and you're putting a chord in place, you need to be able to put all those fingers down at once. The other thing I see that's actually connected to that is chord switching. So usually students are getting their chords, you know, they're putting that one finger down at a time. They can strum them, get them to sound pretty much clean, and then they can even do some strum patterns. But when it comes to the switch, then they're moving, all right, let's put one finger down at a time here. All right, chord switch, let's put one finger down at a time here. Right, so that obviously takes a little bit of time. Now when we're playing music, we need to be able to do this quickly, right? Like I said, the two problems are related. Now, if you just kept working on your chords and on your chord switching, well then over time you would gradually get to where A, you're able to put the fingers down at the same time, and then B, you're able to switch those chords quickly. In fact, let's look at the natural progression that you're likely to go through with that. So again, if you're just practicing over time, you're likely to be doing something like this. Okay, so you're putting that one finger down at a time. Well, the gap in between each finger going down, in other words, the time it takes to put each finger down, that gap starts to get a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller until eventually you're just putting them all down at once. There's also a lot of chord familiarity built at that point that helps you do that. And then same thing with the chords. When you're switching and it's going slow, well, eventually you'll get to where you can just switch those chords quickly, okay? But this can take a lot of time. And so say you're doing this and it's 6 months, it's a year, even longer for some, that can be a real deterrent that can just turn you off from wanting to play guitar at all, right? So, you know, we want to feel good about what we're doing. We want to grow into it in a quick and efficient manner. So what I'm going to give you here are 2 drills for each of those things that help quicken that process. Okay, so let's look at the first one. The first one, what we're doing is, so if we look at the idea of just putting our fingers all down at the same time on our chord, right, our chord placement, our finger placement, then what I want you to do is, we can use any chord, but we're going to use a C major for this instance. So go ahead and put your fingers down on your C major chord, and then what you're going to do is this. So right now I'm pressing down the chord, right, and then as you're pressing down, you're just going to depress. In other words, stop pressing down. Don't lift your fingers off of the strings, just stop pressing down. So they should still be touching the strings in place for the C chord, so then you can just press right down. Stop pressing down, press down. Stop pressing down, press down. You keep doing this for a couple of minutes. And what you're actually doing here is you're having a conversation with your nervous system. You're doing neurological training where you're talking to your body and saying, hey, all right, put them all 3 down at once, put them all 3 down at once. So as you're doing this, you want to be pressing down all 3 at the same time. You want to get used to being able to do just that. Notice I'm not doing any strumming, we're just isolating the chord hand. So as you get used to doing this, and by the way, this is the kind of thing you can do when you're just hanging out watching TV. You sit there watching, pressing down, pressing down, pressing down, okay? Step 2 of this drill would be to just start coming a little bit off the string, just a little bit. Not so much that you lose the chord and have to re-find yourself, just a little bit so you can put those fingers right back down. Just a little bit, right back down. Just a little bit, right back down. And you keep doing that. And then as you're getting used to the feel of that, you can start coming a little bit further away, a little bit further away. Again, you don't want to go so far that you lose the chord and have to re-find it. Okay, you want it to go up and right back down. Notice my fingers are in the chord shape the entire time. They're just coming up and going back down, okay? So this is the progression for that. And then you just try that for a few chords. You don't really need to do all of your basic chords, just do a few of them. So like right there, I'm doing a G major. So you'd start off, just press down, press down, press down, get a little bit of distance from the strings as you go. And again, just do this as you're comfortable, as you're able to feel it out, okay? So you should be in your body feeling this out the whole time. Okay, so once you do this for a few chords, it'll start to translate to being able to do it for other chords, and then your ability to just put your chord placement down all at the same time will get better. Okay, so that's our first drill. The next one for chord switching is similar. What we're going to do is we'll just use the chords of C and G in this example. So what you want to do is, again, we're going to start off, we're not even going to use our strumming hand. We're just going to focus on the fretting hand. We're just going to isolate the chord switch itself. Just look at that. And so, same thing, you put your C major in place, and then you switch to your G major. And it's okay if right now while you're doing this, you're still kind of putting one finger down at a time, right? Because you haven't finished training that yet. And so what you do is you just sit here and go back and forth. C, G, C, G. And you just do that. Obviously making sure to put your fingers down in the correct place each time. Again, you can just sit there and do this while you're watching television, just hanging out, you know, whatever it is. Now the reason we're not adding any strumming is because think about it from a coordination perspective. Starting to add like full strumming while you're doing that, that's a lot of coordination, right? So whenever we have anything in guitar that we're working on, we can just isolate that thing and then just work on it before we reintegrate it into the whole. So step one of this is just moving between your two chords back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, building familiarity, having that conversation with your nervous system, really being in your body, feeling it out. Step two of this drill is to just add one strum. So when I get to my C major, I just strum it. When I get to my G, just strum, just one strum. Just like this. It's okay if you hit one and it's, you know, maybe didn't sound quite right. Just keep moving, you'll get it next time. So you just keep going back and forth. This reintegrates the strumming hand. So now there's a step up in the coordination there, right? And then as you get used to that, a third step to this would just be to integrate a full strumming pattern. Just work on switching back and forth between the two chords like that, right? At this point, now you're playing music, right? We've brought it back into the whole. So again, notice that we just isolated the fretting hand, slowly introduced the strumming hand so that we could still stay focused on this fretting hand, and then we built in the full thing, right, where we have our strum pattern and our chord switching, okay? So these are the two drills that we're utilizing here. And again, this idea of isolating any kind of problem that you're working on is a good way to tackle things. Like say, for example, you're playing a riff and there's that one point in the riff that you always mess up, right? Well, then just take a moment to work out that one little part and then reintegrate it back into the whole. In other words, start playing the entire riff again, and you know, hopefully you fixed that little piece, right? So this is a good way, you know, to train. So just take this idea for you know, how you're training yourself with your guitar learning. Okay, so I hope this helps. Again, the idea here is that we're quickening the process of you being able to put your fingers all down at once and be able to switch them. And of course, once you can put them all down at once and then do your switches like that, where you're putting them all down at once when you switch, this is how we do this very quickly, right? And again, we just need to be able to strum with that and play our music, okay? So thank you for watching. I hope this was really helpful to you. Feel free to reach out to me. I do one-on-one virtual lessons, so you've got my website, divineguitarlessons.com. Keep rocking on. I believe in you. You can do this. Peace.